Here's the thing, guys. Parents give us a lot of good advice, but they also give us a lot of bad advice too. Save more money? Good advice. Shower every couple days? Good advice. Have a nest egg in case of an emergency? Great advice. Brush your teeth? Fantastic advice. But leaving all your money in a bank account? That is terrible advice. I'm going to explain to you guys why putting all of your money in the bank is a guaranteed way to lose money, thanks to our friend, inflation. So first of all, what exactly is inflation? I'm going to tell you that right now. The definition of inflation is a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money over time. So over time, your money is worth less as far as buying power. A perfect example, let's look at the cost of bread in 1930 compared to the cost of bread today. So in 1930, you paid 9 cents for a loaf of bread, while today, on average, you're paying $2.50 for that same loaf of bread. So the purchasing value of your money decreased significantly from 1930 to 2017. I want you guys to understand, your parents are not intentionally giving you bad advice by telling you to save money in the bank account. They are just confused because this is a strategy that worked for them. Because in the 1980s, things were very different. I'm going to explain why that is right now. So this is not necessarily bad advice for the 1980s. It worked for them, but it's not going to work for you. So for this example, we are talking about a CD, or a certificate of deposit. Essentially, you deposit your money, you're not able to touch it for a certain number of years, and as a result, you earn a guaranteed rate of return. In 1984, the average yield on a 5-year CD, where you deposit your money for 5 years and you can't touch that money, was 12.06% per year. In 2016, the average return on a 5-year certificate of deposit is 0.86%. From 1984 to 1988, the average rate of inflation was 3.5%. And since 2000, the average rate of inflation has been 2.2%. So let's go ahead and do the math on this, okay? If you had $100,000 in the end of 1983, by 1988, due to our friend inflation, that $100,000 would have the equivalent buying power of $118,769. Now let's say you took that $100,000 and invested it in a 5-year CD at the beginning of 1984. $100,000 would have been worth $176,707 5 years later. So for that 5-year CD, you made $76,707, but you outpaced inflation by $57,938. That is why your parents give you this advice, because it worked for them. But it's not going to work for you. I'm going to show you why. $100,000 in 2016, based on that 2.2% average rate of inflation since 2000, is the equivalent buying power of roughly $111,495 in the year 2021. Now, if you invest in one of those CDs with a 0.86% return, $100,000 in 2016 will be $104,375 in 2021. Inflation outpaced you by $7,120. But let's say you didn't even put your money in a CD, because most people don't. What most people do is they leave their money in a checking or a savings account. The average return on a checking account is 0.05%. So $100,000 in 2016 at 0.05% per year would be $100,250 by 2021. So while it appears that you made $250, you actually lost $11,245 because inflation outpaced you. I have news for you guys. The 1980s are over. Okay, I cannot believe I just did that. But hopefully you guys appreciated that. Anyways, how can you outpace inflation? How can you avoid losing the buying power of your money? The answer, guys, is to invest. So I just want to show you guys one way that you could invest, and this is a very conservative way. So the S&P 500 is a good way to track the average returns of the stock market. And you can invest directly in a fund that tracks the S&P 500 as well. So I know a lot of people out there will say things like the stock market is a losing game, or everyone loses money in the stock market. But just to show you guys that that's incorrect, from 1928 to 2016, the S&P 500 index had a profitable year 74% of the time. Now, there may be short-term corrections where you are down on your money, but you don't sell. You just hold on and you continue investing. The best strategy when you're investing is dollar cost averaging. So if you wanted to invest in the S&P 500 index, if you were investing in a fund that tracked the S&P 500, you might deposit the same amount every single month into a fund that tracks the S&P 500. So at that point, you're buying shares at a high price, buying them at a low price, and buying them in the middle. So as a result, this lowers your average price paid per share. Since 1928, the S&P 500 has returned on average 9.8% a year. The only way to outpace inflation is to invest. And by now, I hope you guys understand that keeping your money in the bank, in a checking account, in a savings account, in a CD, is a guaranteed way to lose your money. So you need to make sure you're doing something to outpace inflation. And one of the best ways to do this is investing in a passive index fund. I know people are going to be skeptical of that 9.8% return because that's based on almost 90 years of data. So I want to give you a real example, okay? So we're going to take a look at inflation since 2000 and the return of the S&P 500 index since 2000, okay? So since 2000, inflation has averaged 2.2% per year, as we said earlier. So let's take a look at the performance of the S&P 500 index. So on January 1st, 2000, the S&P 500 was at 1425.59. And on January 1st, 2017, exactly 17 years later, the S&P 500 was at 2275.12. So over those 17 years, we saw a 59.5% return on the S&P 500 index. So if you had dumped $100,000 into a fund tracking the S&P 500 index in 2000, you would have $159,500 as of the beginning of 2017. So you outpaced inflation by $14,735. Imagine how much money you would have if you had just left your money in the bank earning a small interest rate. Guys, you have to realize that putting your money in the bank is a guaranteed way to lose money. I want you guys to share this message with your friends. The next time you're sitting down and having coffee with someone, if you're at Starbucks, wherever you are, Dunkin' Donuts, when you're looking for something to talk to them about, say, hey, I watched this guy on YouTube, Ryan Scribner. He was telling me about how putting money in the bank account is a guaranteed way to lose money. It is something that people don't understand because your parents are trying to help you. But unfortunately, they're giving you terrible advice by telling you to leave your money in the bank. It's a guaranteed way to lose money because you are never going to keep up with the rate of inflation, with what the bank pays in savings and checking accounts. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is all I got for you guys. If you did, please drop a like. Please share this message with your friends. And if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I make videos like this every single day. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.